It is our pleasure having you for today's edition of the News Focus in Africa and the World. To begin, Burundi's newly elected president, Evariste Ndayishimiye, will be sworn in on Thursday. His inauguration was fast-tracked due to the death of his predecessor last week. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the verbal note invited heads of diplomatic mission to the event, which is slated in the Ngoma Stadium in the capital, Gitega, located in the east of Bujumbura. Ndayishimiye was originally supposed to be invested in August after winning May 20 polls, which the opposition unsuccessfully contested in court. The death of Pierre Nkurunziza created a power vacuum which normally the Speaker of the National Assembly was to occupy, but the Constitutional Court late last week ruled that the president-elect must be sworn in as soon as possible. An alleged Sudanese militia leader has denied charges of war crimes and crimes against humanity over the Darfur conflict in his first appearance before the International Criminal Court, the ICC, on Monday. Ali Mohammed Abdul Rahman, also known as Ali Kushab, was formally told of the more than 50 charges against him as he appeared by video link from the court's detention center near the Hague's North Sea coastline because of the coronavirus measures. After 13 years in the run, Kushab was flown to the court last week. He earlier surrendered to authorities in the Central African Republic near the country's border with Sudan. The Darfur conflict broke out in 2003 when ethnic African rebels who complained of systematic discrimination took up arms against the Arab-dominated government in Khartoum. The state hit back with violence by pro-government Janjaweed fighters that saw the ICC accuse Kushab to be a senior leader. In Djibouti, leaders of the federal government of Somalia and the Self-Declared Republic of Somaliland held a landmark meeting hosted and chaired by President Ismail Omar Guelleh of Djibouti. The agenda of the conference was not clearly stated, but the source said the first step is to build trust between the sides and agree on the process for talks. While those present, like Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, agreed on the need for peace and reconciliation between the two countries, Somaliland president said this will only be achieved if Somalia and by extension the international community recognize his country's sovereignty and independence. By the end of the talks, the two sides had agreed to appoint a technical committee to continue the talks, equally agreed not to publicize international development, assistance and investments. Fighting COVID-19 in Nigeria, doctors in state-run hospitals have gone on strike over complaints of welfare and inadequate protective equipment in tackling the coronavirus pandemic. In a decision of an indefinite strike with the exemption of doctors from COVID-19 centers, the union is demanding access to appropriate kits for all health workers, along with the payment of revised hazard allowances. They also asked to be paid all old salary arrears and a stop to the harassment of medical workers in the line of duty by security agencies. Authorities fear that any reduction in capacity could severely hamper its ability to tackle the pandemic as the number of cases continue to rise, a second time in less than a month when Nigeria doctors go on a strike. Moving out of Africa, it is a similar case in France where health workers are calling for better pay and work conditions after months of demanding work practices during the pandemic. Doctors, nurses and other medical workers wearing face masks carried banners reading "No medals, no tear gas, but beds and money." The rally is taking place across France as the government is working on a new support plan for healthcare workers who have been at the forefront of the fight against COVID-19. The French Health Ministry has opened up a national conversation on the way forward, but critics say staff shortages and concerns about what persons need to be addressed. Still in France, under police pressure, the government backed away from a ban on chokeholds during arrest. France's Interior Minister announced a week ago that the immobilization technique should be abandoned in the face of growing tensions over police brutality and racial injustice. Police officers, in a show of solidarity, argued that the ban deprived them of key tools to subdue unruly protest. The Interior Minister's ban on chokehold prompted angry response from police unions. On Monday, a stunning reversal. The National Police Chief said chokeholds will still be used until another technique was identified to replace them. Researchers have documented racial profiling by French police, and investigations are opened recently into racist comments on Facebook and WhatsApp group of police. As Europe continues to reopen and ease coronavirus restrictions, there is a fresh warning from the World Health Organization that the coronavirus pandemic is far over. China has reported a new outbreak in Beijing, and even New Zealand says it has confirmed 2 cases after being 3 weeks clear of the infection. The health body warns that cases will continue to rise even if countries had successfully suppressed the virus. For the past 2 weeks, more than 100,000 new cases have been reported almost every single day, says the WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. He called on countries to stay alert while they ease coronavirus restrictions. And in Hungary, Parliament is set to revoke Tuesday's anti-coronavirus emergency pass that triggered international criticism amid fears of a power grab by Prime Minister Viktor Orban. Parliament is expected to approve the lifting of a state of danger and related special power to tackle COVID-19 crisis, given it is dominated by Orban's ruling Fidesz party. Critics have expressed concern over the law, saying it removes the legal limitation of the Hungarian MP's power. Orban, who implemented a relatively earlier lockdown to halt the spread of the virus, said the ruling by decree allowed him to respond quickly and effectively during the emergency. Where the text of the legislation is published, the state of danger would then be formally lifted later this week. That's it. Thank you very much for watching the news. Until we meet again, do take care and stay safe.